There's no one like you. That's why Etsy has so many handmade, hand-chosen, handcrafted things. So you can show the world who you are. Shop Etsy.com.
Tomorrow on ET, we're with Brad Pitt. What he's saying about the reunion that broke the internet.
It was a good time, you know?
Plus, our love guru, Matthew Hussey, is here to heal.
Happening now.
Testimony begins in the trial of accused medical center rapist Anton Harris. How one victim describes her horrific encounter. Caught on camera, two men seen on surveillance cameras trying to rob a driver at an apartment complex on the northwest side. How the sheriff's department thinks you can help them catch these guys.
The steady rain has moved out of town. I'll be back to talk about what comes next and, of course, our next chance of rain coming up in a few minutes.
New polls show two Democratic candidates battling for the top spot. I'm Nadia Romero in Washington. I'll explain why a progressive is gaining ground on a moderate.
Stains. They can be tough to get out with just soap and water, so we put several stain removers and detergents to the test. A 12 on your side report for which takes the top spot. The mayor facing some tough questions today about a multi-million-dollar contract between the city and his campaign. It's a Defenders Update. The news at 5 starts right now.
And first at 5, a woman's emotional account of being raped recorded on a San Antonio police officer's body camera. It was played for a jury. As the trial of Anton Harris began, he is accused of being the medical center rapist.
The victim, a traveling nurse, one of a series of women sexually assaulted in the medical center between 2016 and 2017. Here's Paul Venema with a look at day one of Harris's trial.
This is video from SAPD officer Angela Murray's body cam as she responded to a call for a sexual assault at a medical center apartment complex. Her first contact, a nurse who told her she'd been raped and robbed just minutes earlier.
He said, "All of your cash." And I said, "I have no cash. I only have card." They said, "Take my card." They didn't have a gun, and he had me at gunpoint. And he raped me.
Due to the nature of this case, we're not identifying the victim. 20-year-old Anton Harris, who was just 17 at the time, is accused of raping the woman and of several similar attacks in the medical center area in 2016 and 2017. Crystal Montes was among the first witnesses in his trial. She was the victim's apartment complex neighbor and heard her scream for help.
It was just like a yelp, like a scream, and then it was like a shortened scream followed by a second scream.
And then a loud banging on her door.
She goes, "Please, I was raped." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." And at this point, she was standing in front of my door. I pulled her in and she was crying.
Security camera video from a nearby convenience store and DNA evidence led police to Harris 2 days later.
This is Harris's second trip here to court in this case. Last summer, a plea bargain that called for a 40-year sentence was rejected by the judge, and this trial was ordered. Paul Venema, KSAT 12 News.
Slick roads is said to be the cause of a deadly crash this morning. A man was killed after he crashed his car on Rosebach Parkway just before 7 o'clock this morning. We're still working to learn that man's name. Police say the driver was speeding before the crash. At some point, he lost control and hit a concrete column. The man had to be cut out of the car. He died at the scene. And slippery roads might also be what caused an 18-wheeler here to overturn in southeast Bexar County. The big rig tipped over at Old Corpus Christi and Richter Road shortly after 11 this morning. The sheriff's office says the trailer fell into a ditch and the truck started leaking oil, but no one was hurt.
We still don't know the name of a 19-year-old woman who was shot and killed at a southeast side apartment complex overnight. The woman was found around 1:30 this morning inside a bedroom at the Reserve at Pecan Valley Apartments on East South Cross. Police say 5 other people were in the apartment when she was shot. They told police a man who was in the room with the victim left the apartment and drove off shortly after the gunfire. The woman died at the hospital. Police have not said whether this is a case of murder or suicide or whether they've even found the weapon. It's also unclear if the man who was allegedly in the room has been questioned yet.
A woman accused of stabbing another woman to death, now behind bars. New Braunfels police arrested Crystal Marie Madrigales this morning. They say that she had stabbed 32-year-old Iris Velasquez at a home on Allison Drive. Madrigales is from Alton, Texas. That's near McAllen. She faces a charge of first-degree felony murder.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office on the hunt for two men wanted in connection with an aggravated assault that was caught on camera in broad daylight. Here's a clip of the surveillance the Sheriff's Office shared on Facebook. You can hear the shots. According to the Sheriff's Office, this happened back on January 12th at the Vista Point at Wild Pine Apartments out by Alamo Ranch Parkway and Loop 1604. You can see the men exit from an apartment building, walk up to a car in the parking lot. At one point, the man wearing black pulls out a gun and points it at the rear driver's side window. The driver ends up reversing into a parked car while trying to get away, and while driving off, the man with the gun fires at least 2 shots at the car. Both men are believed to be in their 20s. If you have any information, you're asked to call the Sheriff's Office at 210-335-6000. Crime Stoppers also offering a reward for information that leads to an arrest. That number to call, 210-224-STOP.
The Cibolo Police Department looking for a couple of thieves. The people that you see in this upcoming video are wanted for questioning, though. Cibolo police believe they might have been involved with a theft at the Burger King inside the Walmart on Cibolo Valley Drive and West Borgfeld Road. It happened back in April of 2019. If you recognize them, please call the Guadalupe County Crime Stoppers at 877-403-TIPS.
One nation under fire. In less than an hour, a vigil is set to begin at Ventura, the venue where 2 people were shot and killed during a concert Sunday night. That vigil is set to begin at 6 o'clock. 20-year-old Robert J. Martinez III and 25-year-old Alejandro Robles were fatally shot by a 19-year-old man who's been arrested. 5 others were wounded. The Texas Alcoholic and Beverage Commission is investigating whether Ventura took proper steps to protect patrons. They say it's a standard procedure. Tonight at 6, Stephanie Cerna talks with another local music venue owner about what steps he takes when it comes to security at small and large events.
A steady rainfall has moved out of town, but there's not much visibility left over despite the rain moving on out. Now we have the fog and areas of drizzle settling in. Can't see much there from our live cam overlooking the Alamo City. As for weather watchers, in terms of overall accumulations, we were, for the most part, under an inch, but still a good little soaking of rain. Take a look at these readings that we got in earlier today. Schertz, about 0.8 of an inch. Santa Maria, an exception at 1.1. Lakey, however, well, just 0.2 of an inch and really not all that much closer to the border. New Braunfels, Michael reporting in just under an inch along with Universal City. All right, this evening, drizzle, areas of fog, still damp out there. We'll talk about when the sun returns and even our next chance of rain coming up.
Thank you, Adam. A Defender's update tonight. Mayor Ron Nirenberg getting rid of possibly tainted contributions from the co-owners of a communications company at the center of a federal bribery investigation. Our Garrett Berger joins us now in studio. And Garrett, I guess this extends beyond just contributions, right?
Absolutely, Ursula. The federal investigation is focused on the city of San Angelo, around the San Angelo, where the former police chief is accused of taking money to push city officials toward contracts with a vendor identified by local media out there as Daly and Wells Communications. But Daly and Wells also has a massive contract here with the city, county, and CPS Energy, though the city has said it hasn't found any irregularities. Meanwhile, the defenders found Richard and Joanne Wells had spread well over $100,000 around Bexar County campaign war chests. The mayor's campaign says he received $6,000 from the couple in 2019. Asked about his plans for the money this afternoon, the mayor had this to say.
If any of those contributions turned out to be tainted by someone who was not engaged in, improper behavior, I'll do exactly what I've done in the past, which is donate those or return those.
Well, about an hour after he said that in our interview, Nirenberg's campaign consultant said the mayor would be donating the contributions to the battered women's shelter. The consultant, Kelton Morgan, also took the opportunity to take a shot at the mayor's last election opponent, too, saying the only thing illegal about their contributions to date is the $1,000 in over-limit contributions they contributed to former councilman Greg Brockhouse's mayoral campaign. We confirmed that Brockhouse's campaign received $1,500 in campaign contributions from each of the Wells during the same contribution cycle, putting them above the city's $1,000 per donor limit. We have reached out for comment, but did not hear back before airtime. Steve?
Thank you, Garrett. We turn now to Washington as President Donald Trump's impeachment trial continues this afternoon after a marathon debate over the ground rules. Opening statements are finally underway. ABC's Rachel Scott on Capitol Hill, tracking the latest.
Fresh off a nearly 13-hour, at times heated debate, the Democratic managers returned to the Senate chamber with their evidence in hand, opening their case against the president.
The president was the key player in the scheme. He personally asked a foreign government to investigate his opponent. These facts are not in dispute.
Democrats say the evidence is clear. The president abused his power and obstructed Congress. The president's defense disagrees.
We will challenge aggressively the case that they're putting forward based on what we're hearing.
Democrats still insist there is more to uncover. But their repeated attempts to subpoena witnesses and documents before today's opening statements failed.
The amendment is tabled. The amendment is tabled. The amendment is tabled.
That pivotal question over witnesses punted until both sides complete their opening statements.
I don't see how any senator, Democrat or Republican, could sit on the floor and hear Adam Schiff and not demand witnesses and documents.
Democrats are holding out hope that 4 Republican senators will vote across party lines to meet the simple majority threshold needed to subpoena witnesses. But other key Republicans already have their mind made up.
They don't care what they destroy in the process of trying to destroy Donald Trump. I do care.
As the trial unfolds, President Trump, 4,000 miles away in Davos, had impeachment on his mind, telling reporters he can do with or without witnesses.
I can live either way.
And all eyes will be on a group of moderate senators who have already proven to have some power in how this impeachment trial plays out. Republican Senator Susan Collins pushed for changes to allow existing evidence to be admitted, and the rules were revised. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Meantime, the Democratic nomination for president could come down to this: progressives versus moderates. According to new national polls released today, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are standing out from the crowded pack. Nadia Romero is in Washington to break down the numbers for us. Nadia?
After fending off attacks from Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders is now surging in the polls. He's nearly tied with Joe Biden. And political experts say winning Iowa is all about peaking at the right time.
Two candidates surge in the battle for the Democratic nomination: Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. A new national CNN poll shows 27% of Democrat or Democratic-leaning voters select Sanders, while 24% back Biden. Factoring in the margin of error, there's no clear leader. A Monmouth University poll, also released Wednesday, shows Biden slightly ahead of Sanders. The numbers indicate both candidates breaking away from the packed field for now.
I'm running for president to basically restore the decency and honor of this country.
But the campaign has taken a more negative tone with the fight over Social Security.
Time and time again, Joe Biden has been clear in supporting cuts to Social Security.
Now Bernie's campaign has unleashed
the clash spilling out onto social media as the candidates blast their rivals' records.
Bernie's negative attacks won't change the truth. Joe Biden is still the strongest Democrat to beat Donald Trump.
So long as we're being honest about the votes that people cast, I think that's what politics is supposed to be about.
Another contender, Michael Bloomberg, is slowly gaining support after spending hundreds of millions of dollars on ads. The billionaire could reshape the race for the Democratic nomination.
If endorsements mean anything to voters, Joe Biden just secured an iron workers union that has 130,000 members. Meanwhile, Michael Bloomberg is touting that 11 mayors across the country now back him. In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
Still ahead at 5, stained clothes. It's an easy way to throw money down the drain, from the cost of the clothes themselves to the money you spent on stain removers. Coming up next, the next route on getting those pesky stains out and avoiding wasting an outfit on one wear. Mustard, coffee, grass. If you do the laundry at your house, you know you're going to have a tough time getting those things out. So you may use one of those pre-wash stain removers. Do they really work? 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz with some test results that might surprise you.
Chocolate is the worst stain I get on my clothes because I'm a chocolate lover.
Coffee is probably the worst one that I've had. On my jeans, very dirty doggy paws.
Stains, they're inevitable. So Consumer Reports compared several different spray-on stain removers from OxiClean, Shout, and Spray and Wash.
We use 14 different swatches, each saturated with a different stain.
Things like coffee, chocolate ice cream, grass, blood gravy, cherry juice, lipstick, baby food, used motor oil, mustard, and more. Tester sprayed half of each piece of stained fabric with the stain remover and rubbed it in. Let it soak and then wash them with a load of laundry. Another test compared stain removers to a couple of top-rated liquid laundry detergents.
So what we did is we took some of the best detergents that we have, applied them to the swatches, rubbed them into the stain, and then put them in the laundry and washed them. And we found out that some of these detergents did better than a lot of the stain removers.
In fact, only one of the stain removers performed better than the two laundry detergents. It's the OxiClean Max Force Spray. Or consider Tide Plus Ultra Stain Release or Persil Pro Clean Stain Fighter regular detergents. Both came close to the cleaning power of that OxiClean spray. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
All right, rainy, and now it's just kind of, blah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we had a good rainfall, though. I mean, it doesn't eliminate the drought, right? But it definitely puts a little.
It was measurable.
Exactly.
That's
a
all
nice
we
thing.
asked.
And some places were right, just under an inch. And we saw that from some of our weather watchers out there. So the real actual steady rainfall has moved on. It's out of here. But we're still left with a lot of fog and drizzle out there. So we'll talk about visibilities, what you can expect through the morning commute tomorrow. And of course, a return of sunshine and then our next chance of rain. But let's talk about how much rain fell. You see the big difference. You go into the Western Hill Country and closer to the Rio Grande, really not much rain, just a trace, if that. The bulk of it was along and east of I-35, and the actual rainfall measurements here around Bexar County and surrounding areas, about a half an inch in Helotes, Selma, 7/10 of an inch at the airport in San Antonio, 6,500, Stone Oak, almost 7/10 of an inch. Fairly uniform rainfall accumulations across the local area. But as I showed you before, you go west and very different story. All right, here's a look outside. Usually you can really see the airport clearly. Not much. You can just barely make out the control tower there. 59 degrees, but here's the key. Visibility of 2 miles right now. That's it, 2 mile visibility. And actually, this map is indicating 1.5 miles for the visibility. And other parts of our area have reduced visibilities as well. Randolph Air Force Base, about 4/10 of a mile. That's it. Castroville, 4 miles. Stinson, 2 miles. So let's go through time here with our future cast in terms of visibility. Look at this, just after midnight, we're looking at visibilities, maybe 1/10 of a mile potentially, or less, especially in parts of western Bexar County, eastern Medina County, and even locally, we could have those very, very limited visibilities later tonight and through the morning commute tomorrow. Notice 6:37 a.m. here, still very low visibility. And that's especially in Bexar County and even Medina County, Comal County, and points eastward. However, I do think we'll clear out pretty quickly tomorrow morning. Notice by 9 a.m., sunshine takes over because we'll have a wind shift, and that wind shift will scour out that fog, and by 9-10 a.m. I think we'll be off to sunshine. So another damp and could be somewhat problematic commute come tomorrow morning because of the fog. Right now, just a few sprinkles left over east of town. The real rain, it's far out of here. It's moved its way off to the east. And actually, we have some clearing. Val Verde County, parts of Edwards County, you'll actually see some stars this evening, whereas the rest of us will have the low clouds and even some fog settling in. This is all part of a big, broad system stretching from the Northland all the way down the Mississippi here into the Gulf of Mexico. We are just on the tail end of this big upper level disturbance. And we'll have a few days of sunshine. Then the next disturbance should clip us by Saturday. That's going to be our next chance of a little bit of rainfall, though I don't foresee a big chance of rain on Saturday. Coolest temperatures right now in East Texas, even Dallas at 44, and cool conditions as you head into Louisiana there. Around here, 50s to right around 60 degrees, and no big temperature difference across our area. Tomorrow morning, 40s in the Hill Country, even 39 in Junction, 51 San Antonio. By the afternoon, we're going to warm up nicely, and I think we'll make it well into the 70s, especially southwest of town. Here in San Antonio, a little lower 70s with that afternoon sunshine. Beautiful again Friday, 60s and sunny, then just that slight chance of rain as we get into Saturday. Otherwise, sunny and comfortable for the most part.
Looks like a pretty good weekend. Time
Overall,
to dry out a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. All right, the hype for tonight's game, out of control, and it has nothing to do with the Spurs.
Not at all. It has everything to do with the NBA's #1 overall draft pick, who's making his regular season debut tonight. Happens to be against the Spurs in New Orleans. We'll get you ready for this big moment, which will be part of a national broadcast. And the fallout has begun from the college basket brawl last night.
Regardless of what happened, it's a terrible image, and there'll certainly be consequences for that.
The fallout begins with one of the worst incidents we have ever seen in college basketball, occurring at one of the most storied venues in big board sports. But first, what a big night in the NBA, and the Spurs are right in the middle of it. Tonight, the NBA's #1 draft pick, Zion Williamson, makes his NBA regular season debut when the New Orleans Pelicans host our San Antonio Spurs. A former Duke star missed the first half of the NBA regular season after suffering a knee injury during the preseason required surgery, and concerns are still there considering he's 6'6" and weighs 285 pounds. Remember, he blew out his shoe while playing for the Blue Devils because of the sheer power in his pivot, but right now, it's all about his debut tonight.
I think there will be a learning curve, but I don't think it'll be nothing dramatic. I think it'll be something where, I think we're pros. I think we'll just adapt maybe after a game or two. My plan, to be honest, is to go out there and just contribute where Coach needs me.
Now, keep in mind, they have moved the tip time to a later time to accommodate a national broadcast, 8:30 tonight in New Orleans. Number 3, Kansas has suspended Silvio De Souza indefinitely for his role in the massive brawl that developed right at the end of the Kansas State game at one of the most storied venues in all of college basketball, Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas. To make matters worse, the free-for-all spilled over into a section along the baseline that is reserved for fans with disabilities. It started at the end of the Kansas 81-60 victory over K-State as the Jayhawks were dribbling the ball out to close out the game. The Wildcats' DeJuan Gordon stripped De Souza, went in for the layup, only De Souza recovered, blocked the shot, stood over Gordon. Gordon and teammate David Sloan went after De Souza, and from that point on, both benches empty and the melee began. De Souza is shown throwing multiple punches, even grabbed a stool, but did not throw it. You can see an assistant coach fly to the ground before security guards started to try and get things under control. The horrible incident left many folks apologizing after the game.
It's my guys. It's my fault. They're obviously just came here with wanting to have a game, compete, and we didn't compete like we needed to, and probably a little frustration, especially young guys.
It was obvious to me that we played a role in what transpired, and there will be penalties for that.
Now, the penalty started with actually the school suspending De Souza, not the Big 12. That's still to come. I'm sure more suspensions are on the way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Greg.
We'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching the News at 5 with us.
World News up next. See you back here at 6.